Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to the channel for another roundtable review. This week, I'm joined by Miles in the flesh for
Yeah,
the
we
first time.
buy
We
generated.
buy generators, yeah,
Yeah, down the middle.
there it is,
Yeah.
and Pete's
And
as well.
Josh. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, Pete. Yeah, yeah. No, Josh
Yeah.
today. We've
Oh,
we've
gosh, sadly, I think
replaced Miles with Josh and vice
Yeah,
versa.
we're
So
just we're on like a
we're
timeshare
shaking
thing.
things up. It's
Yeah,
it's to keep the viewers engaged.
yeah.
It's to kind of like Doctor Who goes to
that's why they
Actually,
call it a round table.
actually, what happened was I stepped on a cotton circle on the
yeah,
way here.
yes,
So Josh has just
it's just
ceased to
appeared.
exist for
Yeah,
now. So
I've got to
what we're gonna
remember.
do by the end of this episode, we'll have done the ritual and we'll be
Brought
back.
things full
Yeah,
circle, and
yeah.
yeah,
It'll be
Does
here.
that mean there's like an 80-year-old Josh somewhere in the distance?
There is. He
Yeah.
used to make it
Hmm.
snow. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's a
yeah,
bird outside.
yeah.
That's yeah. Anyway, sorry. Moving on.
So, 73 yards is what we're talking about today. I suppose that Mars didn't done as last week. So, any quick thoughts on Boom? I know we can hear the full thoughts on the
Uh,
Knowing Who podcast,
you can. You
but
can.
in a nutshell, in summary.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, I liked it. I think that I don't think I enjoyed it as much as everyone else was seeming to enjoy it, but I appreciated a lot of its merits, and I'm sounding more down on it than I thought it was a really good story. Yeah, there you go. That's great. Yeah.
Nice one. So let's get into 73 yards, I suppose. A very different episode, a somewhat divisive episode as well.
Yeah.
Oh God, I mean, people will have heard my thoughts probably already. I really liked this. So I mean, Pete, maybe if people have heard our thoughts already, what have you got to throw in a curveball, or do you any agreements, or what?
Yeah, really enjoyed it. Thought it was good. Um, Bit of a strange one. Don't really know how we're going to review this one because it's a bit like there was a lot of curveballs to this episode. I guess like you go and thinking it's going to be one thing and then it's another thing and then 20
Yeah.
minutes later it changes and then another 20 minutes it changes. So yeah, it's a different, unique episode. Probably not the best thing Russell's ever written. Apparently, he said that in an interview somewhere. Um,
Yeah, he said to
but
Michael Ball that it was the best thing
Yeah,
he'd ever made almost.
yeah,
over a year
don't,
ago.
don't
Mm.
think it's quite there, but probably shoot his best, I would say. And yeah, I enjoyed it.
Like Shooty's best performance. Like,
Yeah, there's
all
opening
1
moments.
minute of
Yeah,
it. Or 60 seconds.
Apparently, he only did a day on it on the whole episode.
Yeah.
yeah.
Only filmed for a whole
He was
one
there
day.
for the
Yeah.
cliff top and that was it. He got his paycheck and he was done. Yeah. Back
Yeah.
filming sex education, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. It's
Yeah.
strange to think that that was what's going on.
And also
It's,
all three of us watched this at midnight, right?
yeah, I was going to say actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Josh as well, or we all watched it kind of
In the late
that night.
hours.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in the yeah.
Which
I was actually slightly after midnight because every single week that I've watched it at midnight, I've had like a 2 hour nap before. I just can't help it. I just fall asleep.
Yeah,
And I woke up at like
yeah.
10 past
Oh, you have
midnight
to
and I was
do what
like,
you
oh,
have to do,
Doctor.
and it's,
Yeah, I remember in the chat, me and Richard are there going like, "Here we go," and then 5 minutes later, Pete's like, "Fell asleep." We're starting now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, but it was a good one for the start of it. Certainly the creepy sort of folk horror
Yeah.
start was a great one to watch it.
I mean,
in the late
I
hours.
was on the edge of my seat, and I think I was particularly keen to watch this because of all the hype surrounding it. And I had read all the reviews and stuff. Probably out of the three of us, I was most familiar with all that kind of stuff and the
Sure.
filming and like what was going to happen, and I kind of had a rough idea. There was even one review, I think from Digital Spy or something, that even like said, "Oh, the climactic scene at the end takes place in a football stadium," and I was like, and people were kind of looking at that and saying, "Okay, you're probably revealing a little bit too much there," and like, oh, and Kate Stewart and Carla and Cherry all appear, and it's like, right, but even so, I find it really compelling. I mean, what I suppose genuinely surprised you guys, because I don't think you in particular, Pete, did not know quite so much. Like last week, we said, "Oh, Roderick Williams in this one,and you were like, "Oh, is he?" So
And Kate Stewart.
Doctor Who's on next
was
week.
that a
Pete.
real curveball?
Is it?
What surprised me? That Ncuti was in it. That surprised me.
At all?
Um,
Like, as in, did you
yeah.
think it was going to start and he would?
I knew he was going to be in it. What did surprise me? Nothing.
Oh, really?
Millie's
Even so.
Millie's skincare, that she's a 40-year-old and she looks
Yeah.
18.
Can we just stop this bashing, right? Because 40-year-old people do not look, people are acting like they've got Zimmer frames. Like they do not look that, oh, she just has great skincare, and I don't even think that's a joke, like genuinely.
Yeah, but if she has good skincare from 18 to 40, then whatever happened from 40 to 80,
Oh,
she went through
she's
some.
screwed. Yeah.
Yeah, something happened there.
Yeah, I think she gave up because she was like, surely I'm finished now. Like I'm gonna go back to the start. And she was just like, she stopped using aloe vera and all that sort of stuff. And there you go, she was gone. But I just think that they did a good job to age her up, and to have done any more might have distracted almost. Uh,
Yeah,
That's
anyway,
true. Yeah.
I don't
I
know.
think what did surprise me though was that it left the pub. I think I kind of initially thought the whole episode would be in the pub.
I can make
Right.
So
that thing.
yeah, because I thought that I'd seen the filming pictures of the Roger guy, and I thought he was from the next episode. I thought he was Dot and Bubble. So to
So
see him in this episode
Yeah.
was a bit of a surprise.
I
Yeah,
remember when we saw all the filming of this first block, because it was the first block, wasn't it? And we were all
yeah, yeah, it was.
and the kind of
Yeah.
the slugs. Obviously, it was the same block as Dot and Bubble, so we were seeing the slugs as well as unit stuff. And I just went, oh, I guess it's a Earth invasion plot with these slugs and unit and a political element to it as well. So
yeah,
obviously, all of that is completely. It got muddled as soon as we knew about the folk horror stuff, and
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, totally.
it really did a 180 sort of from the moment that we left the Welsh Highlands, I guess, really.
Mm.
As soon as you get back to Ruby's house, we kind of suddenly turn into this sort of years and years futuristic
Yes.
subplot.
And I think for me, actually,
Well, not
even though I knew about all the elements, because the nature of the puzzle is this kind of puzzle box, and even after watching it, you still don't really know what was going on to
Yeah.
some extent. Yeah, and while watching it as well, you're kind of trying to piece it together. So that didn't actually detract from the experience. I mean, I think kind of added to it. Like, oh, here's this scene we're finally seeing, like this scene where Carla runs away from Ruby or whatever, and we're finally seeing this thing with Kate Stewart, which those annoying press photographers that we see in Unleashed were holding up and taking all these photos of.
Screw.
Yeah, and, and of the whole mystery with the woman as well, Hilary Hobson, who obviously spoiler turns out to be either older Ruby or some. I mean, there's some kind of debate there as to whether it's actually literally her or whatever, but.
Yeah.
Even so, because it was just so mysterious. I don't understand though why she had on set, why that actress had that black line down her face. I'm not quite sure what that was about. Do you remember, like,
Yeah.
like the face marking in the set?
was it not a real scar?
I don't know. Is it
Yeah,
was
I
it
don't
was
know,
it added
maybe.
on?
I suppose it could have been actually. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I heard someone say maybe it's because if they could see that on camera, they knew she was too close to the camera, so that was a good marker for them to know how far.
That would be. I like
Yeah,
that.
because
Yeah.
in the photos released for the episode, even when you zoom in, the black mark would be obvious, right? But they've clearly
Yeah.
obscured it. So
Yes, you never ever see her.
this is
face,
why
really.
this man is on the round table.
Bringing us
This is
exclusive
why he's
the
bringing-
Thank you.
comments. Yeah.
It took me eight of these before it became worthwhile while I was here. So thank you.
Oh my goodness.
Should we talk about because I guess the first big important thing in the episode, or the big interesting thing in the episode, is Susan Twist coming back.
Susan Twist.
Do you know what? I didn't realize it was Susan Twist
I
until
love that,
Ruby
yeah.
until Ruby said, "Don't I know you from somewhere?" I
Yeah.
looked closer because the shot actually cuts in closer after that onto Susan Twist.
You get a little
Because
bit
it's a
closer,
bit
yeah.
further back, and then as soon as she says, "Don't I know you?" we suddenly get a
Although
closer
again,
shot.
a bit like with the woman, but obviously not on a lesser scale, they still kind of keep a little bit of distance from her. It's
Yeah.
still that kind of thing, isn't it? Of like, we're not going to let you get too close to what's going on here. We're just going to kind of keep you at arm's length, like have her there at a distance.
They just show how good she is as an actress. That
Oh,
you can,
totally.
you can.
I love
forget
her
that
little
it's her.
quips and her little all that kind of the kind of northern sort of humor and
I love the sticks.
delivery and
I love the way
everything.
she walks
Sticks, yeah.
like this.
I noticed as well, actually. I don't know whether there's anything in this or not, but if you look at the costume she was wearing and like the out, like this kind of silhouette of it and the color of it, it's like kind of similar in terms of the color and in terms of the silhouette to like the uniform she wears in Space Babies, and also that kind of color, that kind of turquoisey blue color, similar to the ambulances as well in Boom. I don't think there's anything to that in particular, but like when you look at them side by side, like even like the black lines of her backpack kind of like match black lines on her spacesuit in Space Babies. Yeah,
This is
probably nothing to that
the
whatsoever, but
wow.
just to put it out there. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think of it, Pete? Any theories?
I'm intrigued. I think it is going to be a letdown, whatever she turns out to be. I think because they've bigged it up so much. Well, they haven't bigged it up, but because we've bigged it up so much, I think it is going to be a disappointment a little
I
bit.
still think as well that
Um,
casual viewers haven't necessarily picked up on it. It's going to be interesting that to see how it goes and whether they start to address it and acknowledge it more in future episodes. Whether Ruby even remembers this encounter or not, because at the moment each one is kind of there's not been any kind of progression, has there? They've all been very throwaway. I suppose there's been a bit of a progression in terms of oh, she's not in the same scene as the Doctor, and then she is in the same scene as the Doctor, but they don't face each other or meet, and then they do, and it's kind of building slightly. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Kind of, I can just see how, yeah, like at the moment, it is kind of like a throwaway thing. I guess we'll see. Um, yeah, I don't know really. Like,
I
because
do hope that we start getting some answers as well, because I feel like there's so many mysteries at the moment with like Mrs. Flood and Susan Twist, and
I think Mrs. Flood's going to be like a late one. I think some answers are going to be carried over to the next season. I think we can't ride everything on being revealed in the finale because I reckon that these two series have very much been planned as like
I
a,
think so.
you know, we've kind of having elements that are running through both. So there's stuff that I think will be answered, like Ruby's birth and the one who waits, maybe, but then stuff like Mrs. Flood and I think is there other elements that are sort of going along through the whole thing? Obviously, as well as Susan.
It's the snow, but I guess that's kind of do with Ruby, isn't it?
Mm.
One
But
of
I remember him
Edward's
saying that
stuff with his
Mrs. Flood, for example, is
siblings.
a slow burn
Yeah,
and one that I guess that won't be
I think even so, I was kind of surprised by like
so
how little she
fleeting.
had to do in
Yeah.
this actually, and getting a bit ahead. But
I have to say, I found that very funny the way that
yeah,
Anita Dobson played that, and she was like, "I don't care. I was just gonna bugger
nothing
off."
to do with me.
Yeah.
yeah,
Nothing to do with me.
literally,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, very good. I actually forgot that she was going to be in it until she appeared, and then I was shocked that it was like so
There's
brief.
still a comment that Russell made when she was cast and when Michelle Granger was cast as Carla. The photos, and he put a comment on his Instagram or something. What is the significance of the doors that they're standing in front of? And yeah, like, they're in the costumes from this episode. Those photos must have been taken
Block one, yeah.
in Black One. I kind of like what they sometimes leads up the garden path, and maybe
Well,
it's
like,
not,
what
but
about
maybe it was
the thing he said about the scrolls for this one as well? Didn't he say pay attention to the scrolls?
the Mad Jack stuff. And,
Yeah, was that just a red herring to be like,
I guess so.
you think
Yeah,
you know what you're
maybe it's like something not even in universe, but like oh this door is I don't know like recycled from this set or something, something like that. Or
Mhm.
I don't know, but it would be yeah interesting to see whether there's anything more to that because like people have said, oh she's like Mrs. Flood's going down to her basement. Like is there something in that sort of like
Down to a TARDIS.
we read so much into this stuff, don't we? Like
It's got Susan Twist down there. S triads in the basement.
yeah. She's
Yeah.
masterminding the whole thing from a little base down there. So maybe there's something in there, maybe not. I don't know. Um, the snow thing as well. I mean, you guys talked about on Knowing Who about how you think
Yeah.
the snow would probably just like part of the weather when they were filming this in December and January. I think that's absolutely bang on. In fact, what was it you guys that said Russell could have even got the idea for it
Because of it
from that?
snowing.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
again, I wouldn't surprise
It
me.
is
Kind of
possible actually, yeah.
emerged organically.
Yeah.
Because again, that's what I think they're kind of throwing in there and not developing necessarily at the moment. It's just kind of it's there, like with Susan Twist or
Yeah, because they're not really drawing, like, it's at least the characters aren't drawing attention to it,
Mm.
really. I mean, Ruby did mention it quite a bit in this episode, but certainly in previous ones, they've kind of gone, oh, it's snowing, and then just got back to the plot.
Yeah.
So it is, yeah. But have we seen a shot in the trailer of the finale of Ruby like in a snow blizzard?
Yeah, it looked
Yeah.
like she's in kind of some, I don't know, like more futuristic or modern looking room, maybe like units or something. Maybe I'm doing tests on her. I don't know, something like that.
Mm.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I don't know. Because I think one thing other people were saying as well, some people saying about this, is will the episode as a whole make more sense in the context of the series as a whole, and once we've seen the finale, and
Yeah.
is there stuff that's still going to be revealed? And I was kind of saying to Miles beforehand, I don't think really that's what they're going for with this. I mean, sure, there might be something that like if it's revealed that Ruby isn't entirely human or is a child of a god or something, that okay, like so that's why this stuff happened to her, or that's why she got to 40 and still looked like an 18-year-old or whatever. You know, all these magical powers that she has. That maybe, you know, it'll kind of be a throwaway thing like that. But I don't think there's anything more to, certainly the bulk of what was going on with the woman and Mad Jack and all that kind of stuff. And even probably with like Anarin's Bar, I messed it up, but Anarin Barnard,
Anarin Barnard.
Roderick William. I'm not sure whether he's going to return. Really, I think a lot of that stuff was probably just specific to this episode. I could be wrong. I don't know.
I think that the whole certainly there might be some bits in the finale that will make us look back at these things in differently in retrospect, 100%. But I think if we ride too much on, I think some people are thinking, oh well, don't worry, I think it will be explained in the finale, and therefore I will then like it more. But I think if we go into it thinking that, then people are just going to be disappointed. So, but I personally don't have an issue with that in this case. In the case of 73 Yards, I remember texting the group chat after it had been on. You were very much like, I love that.
It, yeah.
and I just went,
yeah.
I don't know what I thought of that. Were you the same, Pete? Were you a bit like, or were you just?
I quite liked it. No, I think that was
straight away. Yeah.
Quite positive, I think.
Yeah.
Josh liked it.
Josh liked it straight away. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. That's his input done.
Yeah. Because I mean, Pete, did you feel that even liking it? Did you feel
Did you feel unsatisfied?
Yeah. Did you feel satisfied or unsatisfied? I think for me, I both liked it and sort of was okay with. Yeah, with I mean, I didn't feel like I was left with questions as such. I felt like, yeah, like sure, there's stuff kind of still hanging slightly, but it didn't kind of detract from it, or it didn't feel like, oh, I have to know like how this linked up, or I have to know that it's kind of distracting me from it. How did you feel about
that? I think for me, I just came out of it thinking that was Doctor Who in my eyes. Like that was my sort of Doctor Who, because I liked Boom last week, but I just don't think it's the sort of Doctor Who that I would like every week almost. But this is the kind of Doctor Who that is my bread and butter Doctor Who that I enjoy. But I do think the first time I really enjoyed it. Second time I rewatched it, I think I saw more flaws in it. I think it's one of those stories that the more you watch it or the more you scrutinize it, the more you kind of it breaks down a little bit.
I'm kind of the complete opposite almost. Like the more I watch it, the more I love it, and the more I love the unanswered things. And I love, again, talking about this, you know, people imposing their own theories and ideas and themes, like thematically what this could mean. Like I love all the theories for what the woman represents. You know, depression, abandonment, all these things. And when you add that layer to it, that we can add because we know that because we're not being told like she's from Raxcarocalaptorius or whatever. Like we can just say, you know, maybe it's because of this. And I don't think there's a difference between that and lazy storytelling. I think lazy storytelling is when you're kind of making mistakes and you're kind of skipping character stuff and things like that. But I think in this case, it's leaving the mystery there. And I think that's in my eyes, that's never a bad thing. So yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, though, how sometimes I think I had a comment recently where someone said, you know, like you were saying, like the more they think about it, the more it falls apart. But for me, the more I think about it, the more it excites me.
It comes together.
Or it ignites my imagination, I suppose.
I think for me, certainly that final kind of central image after that fantastic scene where the lights are flickering on and off, and then that image of like the hands like reached out, like
it's terrifying. You know, I thought about this recently.
The scene,
I'll let you finish your point, but the scene in the bed and the woman's got a back to her and it's the lights coming on and off. I've genuinely not been properly scared by Doctor Who in years, but watching it at midnight in the flat on my own was terrible.
In the dark.
Yeah, literally. It was really I turned all the lights on after I'd finished watching it. It's really scary. And like that's from like an adult perspective. But maybe it's because it's like it's hospitals, it's that kind of creepy thing. Sorry, I'll let you finish your point.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I think it clicked enough in that image, and you sort of understand enough of what's going on, and it kind of feels sort of inevitable, that ending, and like it could only end that way. And almost, I mean, other people have said it kind of has a very sort of short film kind of feel to it, doesn't it? Where it kind of comes full circle, and it's all quite contained. It's like that central idea. Even to the point of not having any opening titles. I thought, which I think Josh didn't particularly like. To put it
Yeah,
mildly.
but to be fair, Josh is never happy with the opening titles, so
Wow.
he's not a good
Yeah.
marker for
He's
it.
not even happy when they don't exist.
No.
But I quite like that as well, actually, myself, because yeah, you just feel like, oh, okay, this is a bit different. You sit up, don't you? And
Yeah. Yeah, you do.
and it gives it that different feel. You kind of you know it's going to be something special, I think. Well, hopefully, and it did in this case. Um,
What do you feel about people who've said, because of that whole loop situation and everything getting erased, some people have said that they feel like, well, what was the point in that? What was the point in it if it never happened? Do you guys get that? Because I like a story like Extremis back in series 10. I remember distinctly watching that, and obviously it ends with
right,
all of the
yeah,
avatars being deleted or whatever it is, and
yeah.
that's kind of it, and it doesn't really lead on to what's happening next. And I automatically thought, well, that's an hour of my life wasted because I've just watched a plot that's been totally erased.
Yeah.
But obviously, watch it now, and it's like we just appreciate it for what it is and what it's trying to say and all that sort of stuff. Do you guys get the people who've said, "Oh, I feel like I've wasted that time watching
I
that"?
do I do think it's an episode that has been written and produced in a very particular time, because I think if it had been in Chibnall's era, or if it had been in Stephen Moffat's era, people would have slated it a lot, because it is essentially a paradox. It doesn't make any sense really in terms of, if she's stopped herself from doing it, then how did she stop herself from doing it?
Yeah, why
If you get what
why
I
not?
mean.
Why the first time did she not stop herself? Almost.
Yeah.
But that's the mythical element, I
Yeah, I
suppose, the
think
supernatural.
the only because I mean, God, it's not really worth trying to explain it because we're only going to tire ourselves the nuts, aren't we? But I think kind of like it's sort of the sense that she has to live out because right in the second version of the opening scene at the end, the woman appears earlier, and
Says don't step.
yeah, there's like Ruby gets an opportunity to stop the Doctor from stepping out, doesn't she? So they kind of and yeah, don't step or whatever. I suppose it's that sense that Ruby has to live this thing out and become the woman or turn into her, whatever it is, in order somehow to then be granted that extra time or opportunity. It is a bit like yeah, like it doesn't kind of um stand up to just kind of stereotypical sci-fi scripts or whatever, but it's not a problem for me.
But
But
it
I
stands up
think
to
that's
like
kind of as
ghosts,
much of an explanation
as you can
as
muster.
you can. Yeah, I
But
think so.
like,
It has like its own internal logic, doesn't it,
yes,
almost?
yeah, that's exactly, yeah. It's a ghost
Yeah.
story logic, really, isn't it? If you think about it, it's kind of like it's things that you wouldn't question in another type of story. If this was a horror story, or if this was
Yeah.
a fantasy story, I don't think you'd get people going, well, how does that make sense? How does that work? Because it's Doctor Who and we're used to getting these explanations. I think we then start to interrogate it more until the point where we think, well, then it wasn't right.
Yeah.
If you
Totally.
if you see what I mean. So yeah, that's why I guess I don't have as much of a problem with it. Because usually when people start doing that, when people start picking it apart and going, well, how does that make sense? I go, yeah, to be fair, yeah, I get you what you mean. But that doesn't bother me the more I hear people say it.
Some stories are like that, because I know Heaven Sent is one that if you do scrutinize it quite a lot, Heaven Sent's got a lot of things you could pick at.
But
Um,
piece of drama, those things don't matter because it's so.
yeah, and it's the atmosphere, and it's got loads of other stuff going for it that you don't pick at those things. Yeah.
Should we maybe talk a bit more about the political stuff and Roger Ap Gwilliam? Actually, quite interesting with this. I was looking back, but obviously, I should say a couple of days before the episode went out, we had the announcement of the next general election in the UK, so that's
Yeah,
quite timely.
very apt.
But even when you go back, it's quite interesting in terms of when this was written and filmed and produced. I went back to look at the sheet that I made for the video I did with Miles about the production of series, well, as we call it then, series 14. And like all the comments from Scott Hancock's Doctor Who magazine columns, and we'd noted them all down and tried to piece everything together. And the drafts of this episode are being literally submitted in October and November 2022, like either side of Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak.
Wow.
Like, so you can kind of see, and obviously following the summer of the leadership contest as well for the Tories, it's like, yeah, I think we can kind of see what
The influences.
was in Russell's head at this point, and you got a little line about the cost of living in there as well. It's an interesting one though, because I guess we probably all agree maybe that it was fairly surface level in terms of commentary or whatever. Like, it didn't go into any of that. And I don't know whether that was with like a BBC impartiality thing of not being able to, yeah, kind of obviously not go party political, but like not going to go too far with all that kind of thing, or keep it light. I was trying to think back to other examples and other Russell episodes in the past, and I suppose like with the Slovene,
Yeah.
there was this thing with your weapons of mass destruction, which obviously, yeah, I mean, we were kids well, at least seeing myself, I was a kid at the time, so I've kind of gone back and realised what that's a reference to now and all that kind of thing.
That
But
was the year of an election, wasn't it? 2006, five,
yeah,
six.
I think once again, like, yeah,
It
the
tightened
fourth episode of both Russell
Yeah,
eras,
both series one.
yeah,
It's really weird.
but that aside from that, it basically again came down to like nuclear war, and with the master being prime minister as well. Like going back to think about that, there's nothing.
Political.
Yeah, nothing actually kind of. Well, I guess like it's the American president dies on television. That's like as much as they go into. So
Tony Blair gets put in a cupboard, doesn't he, in the Slovene one?
yeah, it felt a bit weird that Russell didn't kind of go full on in ways that you might expect Russell to go full on.
Yeah, it's almost like
and
someone
stuff.
he was holding back but then you've only got 43 minutes or however long it is, you know.
Yeah,
It's like
and I suppose one.
And 20 minutes of that was in the pub, wasn't it?
exactly, yeah.
24 minutes.
So yeah, and you want to give Sian Phillips as much time as you can on screen because she's bloody amazing. So it's like, yeah, if you've only got 20 minutes to showcase this character and kind of give the cliff notes, then it makes sense that you've. But then is that something that the story should have done? Should the story have picked one or the two things, or is that why it's so interesting because it does both the folk horror and the political side? You
I
know?
think that's definitely. I think yeah, that is part of the reason of what makes it interesting. I think when we
And it merges the two at the end. Yeah,
I'd like to talk about our kind of interpretations of it in a bit of the episode as a whole and how that kind of all works maybe. But yeah, I don't know. Because I think like how did we find an Irene Barnard and this politician? Do we find him convincing? I'm not sure. I was
He
necessarily.
didn't really do anything, did he?
I mean,
don't think.
he kind of didn't. Yeah, like it was fine for what it was, but I don't know. It didn't feel necessarily so real to me in terms of like a politician. If I was to pick holes, mate, or like the type of person that people would
vote for.
vote. Yeah, maybe. I
But
don't
he
know.
kind of had that kind of personable.
That's true.
You know, he gave that on the interview section. He kind of gave that impression that he was quite approachable, kind of.
Yeah.
And he would like laugh, smile, and then say, "Cut that bit out." You know, so like he's clearly presenting an image of himself, and then you've got all the seedy stuff behind the scenes with Marty Bridges, which was just awful. I mean, that was quite a bit much for Doctor Who almost.
Yeah,
You know,
I
that was
think-
pushing it a bit.
Yeah, in terms of recent years, I can't think of another kind of example of
Yeah.
kind of delving into that sort of
And
territory.
and Ruby being in bed with someone, like it was very,
Yeah.
you know.
Uh-huh.
I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think that Doctor Who can be mature, and
Yeah.
you know, it should be mature. It shouldn't be shying away from things, but it's like it was mature in those senses, and yet politically it kind of held back. Does that make sense? I don't know. I guess it does if it's the BBC, but yeah,
Yeah, maybe.
I didn't mind him.
I-
It's okay.
I do think it was great that they'd aged up that BBC newsreader as well, the presenter.
Attention to detail, yeah.
Should give it.
Yeah, that's very
Give
cool.
it a tash and grey hair, I guess, as well. Then people wouldn't be complaining.
Yeah.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
Yeah.
And did you spot Danny from the convention circuit? I don't know if we should mention this or not, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
we know Danny.
Absolutely. Yeah, Danny.
Yeah.
Familiar.
He even got a name check, didn't he, in the episode?
He did. Watching it back, I heard someone say Danny, and I was like,
Yeah, I was like, what was
yeah.
that? Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
there you go.
Uh-huh.
Part of the Whoniverse. Not many people get to say that.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And obviously he ended up being defeated by the woman as well.
Yes.
Which again, like I said, tied
I liked.
both elements together quite nicely. Although
Yeah.
I did kind of think you could have maybe set that up a little bit because it was kind of like where was Ruby's thinking behind this? But do we need that? I don't think we do actually. Again, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, but then why would they want it spelled out when we know when we see it happen? Do we need to see her thinking?
What do you think that she was saying? Because I mean, it wasn't. I'll be honest, it wasn't something that even crossed my mind when I was watching it or afterwards. It was only afterwards when I started seeing stuff on Twitter that people were even bothered about what she was saying. It didn't affect me.
I think Pete will be getting your autograph at the next convention.
I think they were saying Knowing Who is a rubbish podcast, and then people run away screaming because they know it's a lie. It's an amazing.
I would have run away screaming. I
She
would
was
have.
saying recording in progress.
She was getting
Recording.
recording.
Yeah.
She was getting ready for the next Zoom call, I think.
Yeah.
She was saying
Yeah.
go and support the Go Figure book on Indiegogo. Go and support the campaign.
Oh my goodness.
Have you seen Doctor Who Poop have done an edit of Ruby's mum, Carla?
I'm a mother.
I'm a mother.
A foster mother.
Foster mother.
But I'm the baddest mother of them all.
Yeah.
It's well worth your time.
It's very
well
good.
worth.
I have to say they've been really doing a good job every week. I don't know how they do it, but yeah. No, it was I think I like that Russell sort of laid down the gauntlet and was like, yeah, I'm never going to say what she said.
Yeah.
And I think that in and of itself makes it scary. It really, that's kind of
I
terrifying.
think kind of one of those obvious things, really, like that there's not, they're never going to reveal what it is. Like people should just kind of stop asking, or like, I mean, you find like speculate about it, but
we never know what the Midnight Monster looks like, and
exactly.
people don't have an issue with that now. But I think they probably did at the time. But
it'd be interesting.
Apart from you,
well, have an issue with a lot more than that. Yeah.
But I think that adds to the mystery. Look at Ghostlight. Well,
very much in that.
I was going to say we all love it for that. I'm assuming a lot of people don't really like it, but it's like I like stories like that, which kind of allow the imagination to go a bit more wild and it's like the Time War when before Big Finish got to it. It was this unknowable big thing, these weird names, and that was all we knew. And it was almost more scary to think about the scale of this stuff.
Yeah.
So
totally.
I think the unknowable is always more scary. And if we heard what that woman said by the end of the episode, it would never have lived up to what we thought in our head. Nothing would ever make us go, well, yeah, of course you'd run away from your child if you heard that. Like nothing that we hear someone write down is ever going to be as bad as that. So to think, what could someone say to make Carla abandon Ruby completely is horrifying enough, I think.
I think kind of on this theme, it's interesting to get into our interpretations of the episode as a whole, if indeed we have anything in particular. I mean, both in terms of the actual in-universe logic of it, or the allegorical sense and what it was all meaning, and interpretations in that sense. Because I think for me, I've seen people like you were saying, Miles, like saying, oh, it's about, I don't know, like depression or grief or that kind of thing. And yeah, that's okay, that's fair enough. I think what I kind of got from it is like all these Doctor Light stories, beginning with obviously it wasn't the first Doctor Light story per se, but the first one of the new series, beginning with the excellent, I'm sure we'd all agree, Love and Monsters. They all kind of act as like a metaphor for what the Doctor and what the show means to like its fans and people watch it. And I kind of got a big sort of sense of that with this. All those moments where like the TARDIS is up on the cliff top and Ruby's like going up to it and saying, "Oh, like I really miss you" or whatever, or like I wish you could come back. I'd love to see you again.
It's all set in the 90s, shouldn't it?
Well, it's literally that. That's it's kind of how I read it though. It's like, oh yeah, this is literally kind of like, I mean, not like explicitly or literally whatever, but it's kind of that thing of, oh, this is like the wilderness years or people. I don't know, yeah, like Doctor Who going away or that kind of thing, or it just felt, and like I think with her coming back to it, like with her coming back to the TARDIS on the cliff at the end, like as an old woman and stuff, and reflecting on her life, and the TARDIS has been like one kind of constant there. It kind of, you can kind of see like where I'm going with this, maybe, but like it felt to me, consciously or not, like a kind of a comment on fandom maybe, or like the relationships in the show and its fans. And I think that's what I kind of found quite effective about it, aside from the woman and the effectiveness of that image of seeing this person in the distance. Like I've been not being able to like leave the house without like looking in the distance and thinking that like, oh, what if there's someone? It's just it's ingrained in my memory now. But yeah, I think that's kind of what I took from it, and even maybe into that reading, you could then kind of fit stuff like the political stuff. Like, is it kind of? I mean, it's difficult because like, is this in the episode or is it more like a reading of it that I'm projecting onto it? But like, maybe is it about I don't know how the show kind of empowers its fans to do good deeds, kind of thing. Like, is that how the political thing fits in? And where Ruby's like, I know what I've got to do now, and it's kind of yeah, like the Doctor's not there, Doctor Who's not there, whatever, but she still kind of goes forward in life and does her thing and knows what to do and does it well. Yeah, it's an interesting one. I was wondering if yeah, do either of you have any I don't know any other interpretations of it, either to do with the other things people pointed out or not? I mean,
I think that it's interesting. Again, mentioning the short film thing, this all the more feels like a short film because it's that kind of one of those short films that you watch and you don't quite get because on the surface it's just a bit weird and a bit like well, what was that about? But the more that you can project things onto it, like the Doctor Who thing, like the mental health aspects of it as well. And I just love it for that. Not specific, not like a
not
specific
one
thing.
specific
I
thing,
love
sure.
I just
Yeah,
love all
yeah.
the readings of it, like your reading just then, like the reading that I heard about, that the woman is depression. You can't it's the one thing that's always there. You can't run from it, and it will make other people, make you feel like other people will run away from you because of it, and all that sort of stuff.
Mm,
I just enjoy hearing about all these different readings of it as a piece of media, and I think for that alone, rather than just like a single reading in and of itself, is why I
sure.
think I like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my kind of roundabout way of saying like I just like hearing what
Fair enough,
what
isn't it?
everyone
Yeah.
else says. Yeah.
Any thoughts on that bit at all, or like my
No, I think it was. I think it was interesting that it's one of those stories that where nobody dies as well. Everybody lives. It's one of those very few stories where
yeah.
it does have that distinction. It's quite interesting for that.
It's quite a sort of uplifting ending in a sense, isn't it? As well, like all
Yeah.
the color comes back to the all the shots and everything, and like and again, sort of that the way it ends with when you went to Cardiff or Wales 3 times, didn't you? And one was the third time, and she's like now. So again, it's like kind of like short film,
Yeah,
quite
yeah.
ambiguous ending even, and I don't know. Again, like is messaging there about like yeah, living in the present and all that kind of stuff, and yeah, but I suppose the more you talk about these things, it becomes so clear, doesn't it, that there are all these different readings. So there is no one version of it, and I think, like Miles says, that is to the story's credit.
Yeah.
It makes it really interesting. I think when people said like people will be talking about this story for years to come. I mean, I think there's two aspects to that. There's the sheer sort of effectiveness of that image of the woman in the distance. It felt to me like kind of Weeping Angels moment almost. Like probably not to that same scale, but still like a really memorable motif that people are going to be talking about in years to come. Oh, the one with the woman like 73 yards away. Or
Can you
whatever.
imagine when we go to the proms and all the monsters from series one? You've got babies in pushchairs,
Yeah,
you've got landmines scattered around
yeah.
the audience, and then you've got a woman who's just outside the Albert Hall, just standing in the
Oh,
bloody
picking
Albert
up an action.
Memorial as
Yeah.
everyone's walking in.
Oh
Yeah,
my
it's
God.
just it's so interesting. I mean, I think storytelling should always come first, but it's so interesting when you look at like series five. You've got Silurians, you've got you're doing,
Yeah.
all these kind of monsters that you can put in
I
those
do wonder,
places.
yeah, like how they're going to make that
How,
work at the
yeah,
proms. Like, are you going to have?
Sexy vampire ladies.
that's the thing. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rogue is all about sexy vampires. I don't care
Yeah.
what anyone
Well,
says.
sexy bird people, maybe.
Sexy bird people, sexy Jonathan Groff, it's all happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so interesting actually as well you say about like the sort of people talking about this for years to come. I think like 73 yards is like one of those episodes that it would make a great black archive book, one of those that
Oh,
you
absolutely.
could write
Yeah.
tons of essays on this.
Yeah, you really could.
And you could really dissect it. And that's why I will defend it as like it's not I'll defend it for being something that provokes conversation and provokes a reaction in you. And I think that's what media is about. That's what entertainment's about, rather than just simply, it's more than just a good story. I think at the end of
I
the
think I think it's probably the story where there's been the most discussion on Twitter, isn't there?
Yeah.
Would you say?
Yeah,
I mean,
but
I don't go on Twitter a lot, but
not in the sense of people just bashing each other for thinking it's good or bad. It's discussion as in
Yeah,
what
and
does it
like
mean?
yeah.
people
You
been
know?
doing like 73 yards ending explained type
Yeah, yeah.
videos and
Literally, the
like
first thing I
TikTok
typed
and
in.
all that kind
Yeah,
of stuff as well.
yeah.
It's
You type it in, you see it. Yeah.
yeah. I love the fact as well. I did a video before the episode aired a few weeks ago, and the thumbnail was like a picture of Shooty and a picture of like a few bits, Roderick, William, and Ruby, and the text was "What does it mean?" Question mark. I love the fact that that still applies now that we've actually seen the episode. It's yeah.
Are you saying you're still pushing people to watch that video?
Yeah. Well, I think people still are actually based on the yeah. It's just crazy, but
Mm.
yeah. Well, we're still kind of on the wiser, but um,
But that's what makes it
that's
so.
what work. Yeah, that's what works. I think we
Yeah,
could say, wouldn't we?
yeah. What do we rank this in terms of
Oh,
RTD2? I'm
um,
including the anniversary stuff. I mean, actually, it's funny I
we were
should say
doing
this because we were
some
doing the
reference review stuff,
reference
weren't we?
reviewer
Yeah.
stuff, weren't we?
Did this come out on top for me? It might have done. It certainly came very near the top.
It's
I think
very near the top for me.
it would be
I'm just
interesting.
trying to look at mine now.
Yeah,
Um,
it's consider that, and also 73 yards versus Boom as to which.
I'd say better than Boom.
I'd say
Yeah.
so as well because
Mhm.
Boom is just again I don't want to seem like I'm bashing it, but it's just a solid good story,
Mm,
and it's nice to have Moffat back, but that's kind of it really.
mm.
It's more of a greatest hits, isn't it, for Moffat
Sort of,
than
yeah. And I'm not
Yeah,
saying that a
I
story
see that.
that's just a good story shouldn't be praised, because yeah, just because you can't read other things into it or it's just very surface level doesn't mean that it's a bad story. But I think the fact that 73 yards provokes these discussions, provokes a reaction. I
Mm.
know instinctively, even though I was unsure what I felt afterwards, I knew that I enjoyed it.
Yeah, you
It's
felt
strange,
something.
yeah.
Yeah,
And I think
something.
the fact that I was unsure is because I didn't know why, but
Right.
I
Yeah.
kind of pinpointed it now. So yeah, mine. It's I think if not top, definitely second to the top after a certain wildly younger. Sorry, Pete. Pete's favorite episode ever,
Yeah.
Wildly Yonder.
oh,
Uh,
I love that episode. Yeah,
yeah, he loves it. He never stops going on about it.
it's that and Praxius. Love that.
They're just they're best buddies. Yeah. So you're a fan of it as well, and Pete, you are. Is it at the top of your list as well?
Top of shooters, yeah, I think it's probably Star Beast and Giggle
Oh
out
yeah.
of the RTD2 ones I prefer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
But,
yeah, best
but
shooting.
there we go, top of the shooty list
Would
already.
Boom and
And he's not
73
even in it.
yards would Boom and 73 yards be the top two for all of us, or and do I just feel that any of the other episodes could kind of have that slot, mate? Like 2, 3 slot. I think a lot of people have said these two on the whole have been stronger than the other two, maybe the other three, including Christmas last year.
I think probably Boom, but I rewatched Devil's
Devil's
Chord
Chord.
recently,
Yeah, yeah.
and I do like how confident it is,
Mm.
and it's just a really enjoyable piece of telly. And again, the more I watch it, the more I kind of enjoy it for what it is and what it's doing, and
Yeah.
what it's saying. That has a real message to it as well. Whereas Boom's message kind of didn't really, it felt just a bit muddied and a bit like it was trying to say something but didn't know quite what to say.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, is it weird as well? Is it the third or fourth story where he stepped on something that's caused an
Well,
issue?
Well,
second one where he has, but the
but
third
Ruby steps
overall
on
with
the
Ruby
butterfly.
Butterfly.
as well, isn't it? Yeah.
So keep an eye out for what they're.
And the zebra crossing as well. They step on that, don't they, at the end?
They also step on the
They
pavement.
do.
They step on the hardest floor. I think they step on the grass at some point. They just float everywhere. They just fly. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, an interesting thread, isn't it? People have picked up on it. People have picked up on a lot of threads, which I don't think are
Yeah, I would
threads
say
as
yeah.
well. Not saying that you're saying that's a thread for you, but
No.
I'm just like there are other things. The story thing, the Ruby picking up on elements of stories.
Fourth wall breaks and that kind of
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything to it particularly, but who knows?
Who knows?
Well, I guess one episode Dr. and Ruby are probably not going to be stepping anything in because they're going to be on screens for the most of the airtime, it would seem. But we'll see. Is Dot and Bubble next week's episode? I'm seeing flash.
Boo! Yeah, we won't be watching that one, will we? nowhere.
We'll be at Devil's End, so no, we'll be too distracted by Azal. And no, I'm getting flashbacks to I think it's in the commentary, no, the podcast, sorry. Which I actually think has kind of been getting a little bit better, but maybe that's a topic for another day.
What's this?
Feel like
Knowing who? Yeah, a little bit better than it was.
oh my god.
I think it's getting worse personally. I
do
think
you?
it's going
That's
downhill.
interesting. But I am so I was going to say I'm going flashbacks to I think in the end of that where Russell says I really enunciates it. He's like, this week's episode is dot and double. It's like,
yeah, he loves it.
So,
I prefer Monsters Everywhere personally.
yeah, or
Or
IRL.
IRL is
IRL.
quite a good, clever title. I think Dot and Bubble is a bit like
Isn't it like
it's like the speech bubble that you see when
like-
someone's typing. Or
dot and bubble? Or
yeah, the
whatever it
bubble is around the head, and then
Bubble's
the
around the head,
dot
isn't it? Yeah.
protects it, right? Yeah,
And the little thing they do. Yeah.
yeah. But I guess maybe there's a commentary about bubbles and
Yeah.
things in there.
I actually got. I don't know if it was something you did, Miles, or Richard, one of you two. But earlier on when we were talking, there was a bubble that appeared above Miles's head with a thumbs up on it.
Dot and Bubble. Dot and Bubble. I think
Oh
I
my
saw
God.
that as well. The corner of
Ge-
my eye.
genuinely,
I
yeah,
addressed
genuinely.
it. Do you think it happened? We'll go back and watch the video and see if it
Oh my
happened.
god. Okay.
I
I
think
didn't know if someone
giant
pressed
slug in the
something.
corner of the room that's going to get me.
Yeah, I was like,
Or a
I can't
monster.
ruin the conversation, but something did happen there. I didn't imagine that.
Oh my goodness.
I just find it so
Are we
funny.
in fine time?
Here we are. I find it so funny that you two are going to be. You could have been watching a Welsh folk horror episode whilst in Devil's End,
Yes.
but you're instead going to be watching the lightest, fluffiest kind of,
Yeah.
total, opposite visuals in the end.
Mhm.
I'm really interested to see what the opinion of this one's going to be. I think it could be another polarizing one in a different way. I don't think in the sense of people discussing what they think it means. I think more in the sense of, did that work?
Do you know what my biggest fear with it is actually? My biggest fear is I think it was in Doctor Who magazine or somewhere that Russell said it's quite a pessimistic story. I don't know if you remember him saying that or something, but I don't want Doctor Who to be pessimistic. I want to sit down and enjoy it and get in and think, wow, that was uplifting, optimistic, amazing. I don't want something that's going to bring me down. So I'm hoping it's going to be something that's not as pessimistic as he says it is.
I think actually, kind of linked to that, the thing I'm not concerned about, but kind of just thinking, oh, okay, how's this going to go? And I think I mentioned that actually in one of our videos, Miles, like previewing the series or something. With Russell, for want of a better word, being is he a boomer? I mean, not in that sense, but like, he's a guy, but like like I just wonder as an older guy, and kind of linking to what Review of Death to mention another podcast, what they were saying this week a bit as well.
Is he the right person to be telling that story?
Is it going to be accurate, like the commentary that he has on social media and stuff? Is it going to feel, I don't know, like is it going to feel nuanced enough or true enough to like how we use social media and how like we're using Zoom now and that kind of thing? And
especially given this is a 10-year-old idea as well.
I just wonder why, because I get the sense it's going to be kind of critical of all that stuff, and obviously there's a lot to criticize about like Twitter and etc. But like and how people use technology. I just wonder whether that might be a bit one-sided, maybe, in terms of the arguments put across, or a bit, like you say, kind of almost like a bit behind times, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm certainly intrigued to see it and what he's got to say. I'm sure he's going to have something to say. It kind of sounds like he's got lots of things to say. Like, I think one of them said he's taking like pot shots at a load of different people and things. So that's going to be interesting.
I'd say it is one thing that, I mean, I know we're only very early into the first series of Shooties, but it is one thing that I do worry about is whether the latter half of this series and the next series and the series after are going to start bringing in new writers, because I think that's going to be something that Russell needs to start doing a lot more of, because otherwise he'll leave in 4 or 5 years, whatever, and we'll be stuck with the same 3 people that were doing it in 2003. Do you know what I mean? I think we need a few more people, which hopefully will start to happen. A few more people writing, because is he writing the rest of the series after this, or is he?
We've got
not doing the Rogue one, is it?
First new writers in like 4 years. Kate Herron and Bryony Redman, who are co-writing Rogue, so that'll be interesting and refreshing. And but yeah, it's the only new writers in the series, which I was kind of thinking about this, and maybe part of the reason why it's so Russell heavy, if they needed to have episodes in the first block ready to go and written around just logistical constraints about not having shooty much of sex education. So maybe that's why he wrote those. And then you've got the opener, which you're going to write anyway, in Stephen Moffat's episode. And then you've got episode 2, which he's probably going to write and tell us called, plus the guest written one, and then because the series is so short, you're on to the finale after that, and with Christmas in there as well. But yeah, so maybe it's more of a logistical thing, but I don't disagree. And we've heard there are going to be more new writers next year, so I'm intrigued to see who they are and how that goes. Yeah, and what that sounds like.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's probably 6 episodes of the series are written by Russell. How many episodes did he write in series 1, the original series 1? Probably 6 as well. It's just because it's a shorter, condensed runtime that he needs to write that many episodes. Because he's overseeing the series and the structure of it. So it makes sense that he's written those episodes, those key episodes.
It does, yeah.
But then I guess for series 1 it was kind of different because it was like, of course he'd write the first 2 because he's setting it up. The long game is kind of continuing a thread in the story, and then of course he'd write the finale, and I guess Boomtown was just a last minute thing. But there you go, that's 6, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Aliens in London.
Oh, and there you go. So 8. He wrote all of that series as well, bar Moffat and Paul Cornell and someone else.
Mark Gatiss and Sherman.
Yeah.
Rob Sherman, yeah.
Rob Sherman.
Did I say Rob Sherman? I must have forgotten.
No,
yeah.
Of course. How do we forget? Yeah. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting one. Is that where we leave it? Anything else?
I think that's I've exhausted my comments on 73 yards. Yeah.
Can I do the outro, because I'm so good at it?
Go on. Yeah.
Are you ready for the outro?
Or if you remember all the things that you've got to mention, though.
Yeah. And while you
do,
right.
Okay.
We'll have to chip in if you. Go on.
See, Miles hasn't seen this yet, so the pressure's on.
I'm ready. I'm excited.
Okay, so thank you everybody for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your pets, tell your neighbours, tell your colleagues. Thank you. Please make sure you check out Richard Lloyd's channel. He's got lots of great stuff on there. Lots of great videos about figures and other bits and bobs. Not quite sure what off the top of my head, but he's got videos on there. Check out his Instagram as well. Lots of nice pictures of figures on there. Check out his. Do you still have Twitter? You must have Twitter. Yeah, Twitter.
Check out his house. Check out
his
shelves. Check
everything out. I think he does some live streams every now and then as well, so check them out. Moving on, I think Richard's had his limelight now. His time in limelight. Miles. He's a great guy. Got a nice haircut, nice shirt. Apparently he photocopies crosswords. Bit weird, but we'll move on from that. He has a fantastic podcast called Knowing Who. He's got a co-host on it. Don't know the co-host's name, sorry, but he didn't know his mate's name either that he watched the episode Doc 2 with, so that's fine.
Yeah, Ben will be very happy.
Miles is a top lad. He's also got a YouTube channel. I don't know what it's called this week because it changes every week. It was called Tailored Vision at one point.
Called Monsters Everywhere at the minute, although it might be called IRL next week, and maybe
IRL.
I'm kind of debating, but yeah.
Sure.
He's got action figure adventures. No, he hasn't. He's got audio dramas now. He's moved up in the world. Audio dramas where he plays the Doctor. A little bit vain, but we're going to roll with that. They're worth a listen. I'm hoping Russell will give him a ring soon and say, "We need some new writers at Cardiff. Come on down." His podcast's good. I've already mentioned that. He's also got Twitter and probably Instagram. I don't know.
He's got a podcast. Don't forget the podcast.
Yeah.
He's got
it's called Knowing Who.
Podcast called Knowing Who. Yeah.
Knowing Me.
Knowing Who. Aha.
You get it. It's good. It's clever. Josh, he's not here, so we're not going to shout him out. He's a nice lad. Don't think he's got any YouTube or anything to share anyway, so we'll just get past that. check him out at the BFI. Come down to the BFI. We'll all say hi to him.
Smell him in person.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you come to the BFI and say the word Kiwi to me, I'll buy you a drink. Okay? So that's a promise if anybody's out there.
Wait until someone gets it wrong and goes up to you and goes, mango, and you'll be like,
weird.
Right? Sure.
But that's enough for now because Richard's going to have to edit all this out. So, that's it. If anybody's in Oldbourne as well at the weekend, we'll see you there. I'll be dressed as Bok. Richard will not be dressed as Bok.
I'll be dressed as the invisible Dalek from Spyrodon, so you might not see me, but I will be there.
You'll be there.
I'll be there. You'll know I'm there. Although
See, my first thought when you said Invisible Dalek, and I don't know why this was my first thought, but was the one that Katie Manning is naked up against, even though that Dalek's not invisible.
I'll
Her
be
clothes are invisible.
Katie Manning from the Dalek photo shoot, go-go boots and all. You just
God. Yeah.
It's been a very
Okay, don't,
fine. Yeah.
don't quite know how we move on from this now, but
I think we just end it there.
Yeah.
yeah. See you in Oldbourne. Have a lovely week. Have a
Bye.
great time. Goodbye.
Monsters everywhere. Ah!